Kylo Ren is set to be the new villain of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And we're going to talk about comparing Kylo Ren to Darth Vader because a lot of people have compared and contrasted these two characters, and they're definitely not the same character. There are differences, major differences, but there are similarities as well. And joining me to talk about this is a guy who needs no introduction because he's been here before. Please welcome once again Mike from Laughing Stock Media. Hello, Mike.
Hey guys, it's Mike here from Laughing Stock Media. How's it going?
What were your impressions of Kylo Ren when you first saw the film as a villain? Like, did you enjoy him as much as Vader? Because I got to be honest, I feel like for the first movie, when you compare Force Awakens to A New Hope, I think Kylo Ren is a much, much more developed character than Vader is and a much more layered character, significantly, I would say.
Oh, easily. I mean, Darth Vader in A New Hope is kind of just this cool muscle dude who shows up and just kicks ass and takes names for the Empire. And he kind of has some ideas about, tracking them and stuff. But I mean, he's not really any real big, significant, Jesus character like they eventually tried to make him into. Kylo Ren, on the other hand, is far more developed. We actually see him behind the mask in the first film that we see him in. We see like his motivations. We see like the people that were behind him, like as a person. There's so many things that we actually get to see him as. So yeah, I definitely think that as a more fleshed out villain, Kylo Ren definitely wins in like comparing the first film to the first film. But that being said, of course, we
Huh.
haven't seen two and three. So comparing him to the fully actualized Vader in terms of like overall which character is better, it's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm not even talking about that yet. We'll revisit this topic in 5 years or whatever. But no, I wanted to talk about kind of people have been making these comparisons with him and Vader, and I mean, the difference is that I mean he's definitely a Vader fanboy. That's the gimmick
Yeah.
of Kylo Ren. He is a Vader fanboy. He is a fan of Darth Vader. He wants to be like Darth Vader. And originally, I had thought that he was not aware that Vader was redeemed. But if you read the Force Awakens novel, you find out that he is very aware that Vader is redeemed, but he doesn't care. To him, the redemption of Anakin Skywalker was a weakness. That's what Snoke has brainwashed him with, that his redemption was a failure and that he
Yeah.
let compassion take over him. So in the movie, Kylo Ren is faced with a decision. He's at a crossroads, like with his lightsaber. He has to decide whether or not to come home with his mom and dad, Han Solo and General Leia, or if he wants to stay with Snoke and really become a full-blown dark side guy. I don't want to compare that to the Revenge of the Sith choice because I felt that the choice in this film was a little bit more realistic, but the one thing that it lacked was Snoke's seduction. Because my question has been when I got done watching this movie, what the hell could Snoke have told this guy to betray his entire family and his master Luke Skywalker?
Yeah, I mean, I have no real idea. The only thing I can think of is that if we're going to tie this into the prequels, that maybe he told him that he was this chosen one, that he was born from the midi-chlorians alone, and basically like he was supposed to be the one prophesied, and then he like twisted it to be, to actually bring like the order to the galaxy through the Sith or through the dark side or something along those lines. Like that's the only thing I can really think of because like why else would he worship Darth Vader the way he seems to do or want to be like him and then think that his lightsaber is his? Why else would he want to do all these different things unless of course he knows something along those lines? Like I don't really understand what else it could possibly tempt him with other than that.
It has to be power. Same thing with Vader. Now let's talk about feats here. Now Vader it's hard to really explain this, but Vader. Some people feel that Vader was at his most powerful in Revenge of the Sith before he wound up getting injured. Others feel that he was at his most powerful afterward because the Jedi had been pretty much wiped out. He took control of the Force. What we do know is that in A New Hope and in Empire and all those movies, he basically goes around choking people and that he is skilled with a lightsaber. But in this film, in The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren does a lot of impressive things, not only reading minds, which Vader did not do. And it's interesting because if you remember in A New Hope,
Hmm.
they tried to get the location of the rebel base out of Leia by
Yeah.
injecting her with that truth serum or whatever, and it didn't work. So why didn't Vader just read her thoughts? That tells me that Vader never learned that technique, and that to me I don't want to say Kylo Ren is more powerful because he is not. His training is incomplete. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But we saw two things that Vader did not do, and probably could not do in Force Awakens. We saw Kylo Ren probe people's minds, and we saw him stop blaster fire in thin air. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, but geekdom. Vader blocked blaster fire in Empire. He blocked it with his hand. Kylo Ren actually blocked the blast in midair and held it there. We never saw Vader do that. So
Yeah.
it seems like Kylo has more impressive feats, but overall Vader is still more powerful. Kylo has not hit that apex yet.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, too, that people have to consider is that Kylo Ren was trained by two incredibly powerful characters as opposed to Vader, who was only trained by one, really, when you think about it.
Well, I thought he was trained by like three because it was Ewan, Yoda, and I'm sorry, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Palpatine, right? Would that not be it?
Well, I mean, like, the thing is, Yoda, what train did Yoda really even do to Vader that we saw? It seemed like it was all Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was, Obi-Wan, to be honest, was not on the level that Luke became eventually in terms of overall power and stuff because of how he's descended. I just feel like basically it's the situation in a lot of cases. Luke trained him first, and Luke is arguably the most powerful Jedi ever. And then he was trained by this mysterious Snoke character. So it's possible that the reason why he has these different abilities is because he was trained by Luke and because he was trained by this guy, whereas Vader was trained by different people, from a different point in time. So it explained why he would have different techniques. And, it seems like by this point in time, the training techniques would be a little bit more refined or better just because of the fact of who he's dealing with, who are arguably more powerful. We don't know how powerful Snoke is or if he even has any real power, compared to some of these people. But, seems like he definitely knows a lot about the Force and about the dark side. So, I mean, Vader wasn't trained by him, so it's very possible that his training is just completely different than Palpatine's was or the Emperor's was.
But overall, when it comes to actual power, like who is the most powerful?
I mean, I still feel like Vader is more powerful overall. Like, the thing is that,
Yeah.
like, I feel like the whole reason Vader didn't stop a blast like that is because they didn't have the technology to show him stopping a blast like that. I mean, if
You mean the movie making technology?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you show like extended universe stuff in this, like Vader blew up fleets of ships just with his mind. So like, I just feel like Vader is probably more powerful than Kylo Ren at this point in time. The thing is too that Kylo Ren doesn't even have full use of the Force to the degree that he could because of the fact that he, within his mind, very much like Vader in Return of the Jedi, is very conflicted, which ties into the fight with Rey and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like. I feel like Vader is definitely still superior at this point in time, and I don't see how he could not be superior at this point in time.
A lot of people were complaining that Kylo Ren was like this bitch boy. There's that emo Kylo Ren Twitter, which is very funny. To me, I always saw it as he's going through some shit. He's conflicted. Yes, I mean, if you want to say he's emo, I don't think he's emo. I think he's just a confused young man, and this whole trilogy kind of, or at least this movie, talks about the confusion of youth. Because Finn is confused, Rey is confused, and Kylo's confused. They're all confused about what their destiny is. All of them. That's what there's themes and layers to this film that people need to watch over and over again to really pick up on. So Vader, I think maybe it's because Adam Driver's probably a little bit of a better actor than Hayden. I just feel like Kylo Ren gave off the whole gothic, hot topic kid, Sith Lord, Dark Jedi vibe better than whiny Anakin. I felt like when Kylo had more of a short fuse and seemed more real. Hayden just came off really annoying, especially in Attack of the Clones.
The thing is that Kylo Ren and Darth Vader aren't supposed to be the same character. I feel like one of the reasons why. I feel like one of the biggest reasons as to why people react the way they do to Kylo, and I haven't really seen that many people who have reacted this way, although there's a lot of people who are trying to put out quips here and there. Like I read an article recently, it's like, oh, at least this character is more developed or better received than Kylo Ren. It's like, I feel like the real reason why people are acting this way towards Kylo Ren has to do with their expectations of what the character would be, and basically like what they saw the character looking like in the promotional material and stuff like that. So when we actually see Kylo Ren, he just easily takes off his helmet and stuff like that. People's expectations are subverted from what they expected because they expected this silent, wearing a mask, badass character.
Well, and one thing I will say too is I thought it was fascinating how he wears the mask because he wants to. Vader wears the mask because he has to. Kylo Ren wears it optionally.
I mean, the thing is, like, in terms of Kylo Ren is not supposed to be this nameless, faceless badass. He's supposed to be, a real human being who's actually
Yeah, who's
alive and living and
conflicted.
breathing, and who has problems, who like doesn't know what he's doing and really has issues with that. And that's what his character is supposed to be. So when these people who were like, "Oh, I want this badass dude. He looks so awesome in that suit." When he takes off the helmet and when he reveals what the character really is, people are trying to say, "Oh, he's emo," but that's just because these people can't comprehend what kind of character he's really supposed to be, and that is like a real person. Like Darth Vader in the first movie, he's just this badass dude. Until the
Well,
last
also,
movie, we never see him without the helmet on. Well, we do see him in that moment of vulnerability, and that's the thing. Vader actually is shown being vulnerable in Empire Strikes Back with that, helmet being taken off. We see his burns and stuff like that to remind us that he's still human underneath. But Kylo in this one, immediately we know he's a human being, and he's more relatable and more humanized by a result of that.
Well, also, I feel like Vader is war torn. I
Yeah.
feel like the thing about Vader, and this is whether or not you want to include the prequels. We know that he had been pretty much at war for most of his life. Okay, and that's the good thing about the Anakin character is that he's this grizzled veteran of war, right?
Yeah.
2 wars actually. So he walks around very stoic, very collected. Vader is not a loose cannon at all. Like Vader, throughout all 3 films, he does get mad, but he is in control of his emotions, and which is the opposite of how the prequel Vader was, Anakin. But Kylo Ren is the opposite. He's just out of control, but I think he's portrayed the character better. As far as power goes, people have been bitching that Rey defeated Kylo, and they're saying that, oh, well, it doesn't make sense that Kylo Ren was trained by Luke Skywalker and lost to a rookie. I mean, we haven't found out who Rey is. I'm not going to get into that on this video about the possibilities of Rey's power and all that. But one thing that I want to stress to people, and I want to get your thoughts on, is that Kylo Ren is nowhere near being completely trained yet. Now, we don't know when Luke stopped training him. We don't know when the betrayal happened with the Knights of Ren. We don't know that yet. We will know soon. We don't know yet. And Kylo Ren in Force Awakens lost to Rey. Vader, would he have lost? Probably not. But that's because Vader was already a Jedi for years and years and years, and I feel like Kylo Ren wasn't even close to that.
Well, it's also the fact that Kylo Ren was conflicted. It's like Luke versus Vader
And injured, by the way.
Yeah. Well, he was injured too, but it's also, I feel like the biggest thing came down to similar to when Luke fought Vader in Jedi. Vader was conflicted, so he was weakened because of that. He couldn't use the Force to the full abilities and abilities to do so, whereas it's very similar with Kylo Ren. He's conflicted. He's caught in between. They already said this when, Rey and Kylo were having that one scene together where she's like, "You're afraid, I can feel it," and stuff like that. So there obviously is this conflict in him. He doesn't know, like he was telling Han Solo at one point, he does not know, he's being torn apart. Like that was a big theme of his character.
In
so
fact,
it makes
the
sense that he
soundtrack
can't
part
use
was
it.
called Torn Apart.
Yeah, so it makes sense that he cannot use it to its full power, and it makes sense that combined with his injury, and combined with him not being a fully actualized, Sith or dark side user or fallen Jedi, whatever you want to call him, that he would be weakened in that state. So I just don't see issues that these people are seeing. I think that they're not either comprehending what actually happened in the movie, or they're just nitpicking because they don't want to enjoy the movie to its full potential, which you easily
that.
can. Now, one thing I did want to say is that with regards to the training, Luke could have fully trained Kylo Ren, but the thing is, like,
I don't think he did, though.
I don't think he did either. But, like, for example, when Luke goes and he sees Vader and Jedi, he's like, "Obi-Wan has trained you well. You've constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Now the Emperor will continue or finish your training." So it almost seems like they refer to the dark side as a state of training even beyond the fully trained Jedi. Like they go even further beyond that. So I feel like even if Kylo Ren was fully trained, he could still be in the middle of his training as a Sith and still be in conflict as a result of that. And we just don't really know.
No, and when it comes to power, like if you matched up Vader against Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens, Vader will whoop his ass, I think, with ease. I think Vader will. If you're doing a versus battle, which is what we're kind of talking about here, Vader would kick his ass. But we'll see what happens in Episode 9. We're going to have a hell of a lot more to talk about with Kylo Ren, Vader, and the whole sequel trilogy in the next year or so, and I hope everybody listening will be with us for that. And thanks, Mike, and leave your comments down below. Kylo Ren, Darth Vader. What do you think's going to happen with Kylo Ren? Is he going to eventually reach Vader's potential or surpass it? And why do you think that Vader never learned how to probe minds? I'm very curious about that. Maybe we'll get an explanation in one of the comic books or maybe even in episode 8. But thank you. Check out Laughing Stock Media. I will leave the link down below in the description. It's always there, really, in every video. But I'll catch the rest of y'all down the road.
See you later.